Daily Tech News with Alan Smithson.
Good morning. Welcome to Daily Tech News. My name is Alan Smithson. Today is Tuesday, July 2nd. Yesterday was Canada Day. We had a great celebration here, fireworks, all the things. It was fantastic. Today is another day, and we have some interesting stuff today. We have the hammer is coming down on the tech companies. So European Union, SEC, basically the bunch of regulations have been breached, and the EU rules have been violated. And so a bunch of these things, I'm just going to touch on them quickly, but we're looking at these tech companies getting slapped on the wrist, and we're looking at governments really trying to protect people over companies. This is typically a European thing. America typically, just lets companies do whatever they want. They can just buy their way in. But so let's take a look here. It says Meta's pay or consent model in the crosshairs for breaching EU tech rules. Okay, so what does that mean? It says Meta Platforms was charged by EU antitrust regulators on Monday for failing to comply with landmark tech rules as they took aim at the US company's newly introduced pay or consent advertising model, already the target of privacy regulators and activists' ire. The tech giant launched two no-ads subscription service for Facebook and Instagram last year, November, saying users who consent to be tracked can get free service, which is funded by advertising revenues, or they could pay for an ad-free service. And the the European Commission, which acts as the EU competition enforcer, said the binary choices breaches the Digital Markets Act. I won't get too much into it, but what I will do is I will put the links into the chats of the YouTube comments. Make sure you hit subscribe, all that good stuff. I just hit 600 subscribers yesterday, so woo, awesome. Okay, back over to America. The Supreme Court sends Texas and Florida social media regulation laws back to lower courts. So this was got bumped up to the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court actually just pushed it back down to lower courts. So it says that the Supreme Court on Monday vacated two judicial decisions concerning Republican-backed laws from Florida and Texas aimed at limiting social media companies' ability to moderate content on their platforms. It's really strange because the conservatives think, the platforms are blocking our speaking points and this sort of thing. Maybe you shouldn't say dumb shit on social media and they wouldn't have to block you. But anyway, the question is, in such a case, is whether the law's unconstitutional applications are substantial compared to its constitutional ones. To make a judgment, a court must determine the law's full set of applications, evaluate which are constitutional and which are not, and compare one to the other. Neither court performed that necessary inquiry. So we're starting to see regulators in Europe, in the US, starting to hold to account these massive tech companies. And when I say massive, massive. Okay, another one here, NVIDIA, which is now the first or second largest company in the world, depending on the day and hour of the day. NVIDIA could receive a French ban hammer. I'm not sure what that means. I guess ban them. Antitrust charges may follow government raids of NVIDIA's offices in France. So the government raided NVIDIA's office. This is crazy. The French authority appears likely to soon charge NVIDIA with anti-competitive business practices. I can't imagine how they got to a $3 trillion company without being anti-competitive. But the charges would come 9 months after the competitive authority raided NVIDIA's French offices and hinge on NVIDIA's complete dominion over the AI compute space. Well, we'll see how that goes, and we'll be following that one. Another one here is with Meta again. EC, the European Commission, finds Meta ad model violates tech rules. That was the same one as we saw before. Here we go. Circle snags first stablecoin license under the EU's new MiCA crypto rules. Circle Mint France will issue a euro-dominated euro stablecoin and USDC in the European Union in compliance with MiCA. And it's interesting because, if we are seeing kind of on one side of technology being overly regulated, and then we have other side that hasn't been regulated at all. The crypto industry wasn't really regulated at all. And we saw tons of scams and all of these things. And it's nice to see finally that there's real regulations happening. And it says stablecoins are a key piece of infrastructure in the digital asset market, facilitating trading and exchanges, and increasingly used for transactions and remittances. Circle's $32 billion USDC is the second largest stablecoin and the gap to market leader Tether's $110 billion USDT has been widening. Okay, so we'll leave that over to actually that same one as before. I've been following this stuff, but it's just coming at us so fast. So state social media laws aimed at protecting conservative users remain blocked. The Supreme Court sent it back down, and we just talked about that. Okay, over to this. Apple becomes the first target of EU's new digital competition rules aimed at big tech. So we saw Meta, and now Apple's also going through this as well. The rulebook, known as the DMA, is a sweeping set of regulations aimed at preventing tech gatekeepers from cornering digital markets under the threat of heavy financial penalties. The Commission opened an initial round of investigations after it took effect in March, including separate ongoing probe into whether Apple is doing enough to allow iPhone users to easily change web browsers, and other cases involving Google and Meta. And I think we'll keep an eye on that. Okay, here we go. Here's another one. This is big tech's playbook for swallowing the AI industry. So instead of acquiring companies which can get blocked by antitrust laws, they're just doing acqui-hires. With Amazon's hiring of the team behind the buzzy AI startup, a pattern is emerging: the reverse acqui-hire. A couple months, it says here, last Friday, Amazon announced it will be hiring most of the team behind Adept, another would-be OpenAI competitor that raised about $400 million from top-tier investors. And the new model, it's just crazy that instead of acquiring the whole company, they're just acquiring the senior teams and the people they need from it. So this is, I guess, a way around the regulations, but we'll see how that works as well. Over to the U.S. again. The U.S. SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, sues Silvergate for securities fraud. And it says here, has sued crypto-focused bank Silvergate Capital in a federal court for securities fraud. The commission alleged that the company has made a fraudulent scheme to mislead investors about its bank secrecy and anti-money laundering compliance programs, as well as its dire financial condition after the collapse of FTX in November 2022. Woo, it's crazy with the regulations. All right, over to YouTube. Now lets you request removal of AI-generated content that simulates your face or voice. And this is really interesting because just today, there was some lawsuits going forth because of people being copied with their voice. And, if your face or voice keeps getting copied by AI and you see yourself, imagine, you see yourself talking as an AI, what are you going to do about that? So it's interesting because I think Meta, OpenAI, Microsoft, they're all going to be dealing with this because creating a deep fake of a person is as easy as dropping the photo into the thing. Microsoft's got their system for making a deep fake with one photograph. It's nuts. So instead of requesting the content be taken down for misleading, like a deep fake, YouTube wants the affected parties to request the content's removal directly as a privacy violation. According to YouTube's recently updated help documentation on the topic, it requires first-party claims outside of a handful of exceptions, like when an affected individual is a minor and doesn't have access to a computer, or is deceased, or other such exceptions. So you're going to be able to request that people take down anything that simulates your face or voice. Pretty awesome. Over to AI doing good stuff. Running AI in the field could boost farming. Edge AI in agricultural equipment or sensors has a great potential to address future food needs. And the idea here is to apply computer vision, to apply robotics, to apply AI algorithms, to look at farms, to look at farmland, and really create the best possible scenarios. So it says here, the transformative power of AI across industries has great potential in one of the oldest and most critical sectors, agriculture. Specifically, Edge AI may be able to transform farming practices, boost productivity yields, and hit sustainability goals across the food chain. A new study exists here, and it says, Edge AI is where AI algorithms are programmed directly on local devices at the edge of a network instead of a centralized data center. Leveraging the integration of sensors and Edge AI in smart farms and vehicles will facilitate the precise dispensation of optimal quantities of irrigation water, agrochemicals, and individual plants or specific areas. This is great because now if a flower or a plant does not need to be sprayed with pesticides, it won't be. Super cool. So it would be reduce water, fertilizers, and agrochemicals. This could be a huge cost savings and also allow us to grow more food more efficiently. Okay, over to more cool stuff. This has nothing to do with AI, but Canada, the country I live in, the country that we celebrated its birth yesterday, is debuting a world first carbon-free aluminum production technology. ELYSIS inert anode technology eliminates carbon from electrolysis cells, releasing only oxygen and trapped carbon dioxide. And if you know, manufacturing of aluminum, concrete, these things are really, really all sorts of metals. They use a lot of carbon to build, to make these materials, because you have to, heat them up. It dissipates carbon dioxide. And it says here, their technology promises to replace traditional smelting, eliminating all direct greenhouse gases and producing oxygen instead. This is really neat. The company will design, engineer, and build a demonstration plant with 10 pots operating at 10 kiloamperes. I don't even know what a kiloampere is, but it looks amazing. So Rio Tinto, which is a mining company, and the government of Quebec will invest $179 million to get this up and running. And I think that's just super cool. If we can do this for all metals, it would be amazing. Okay. Scientists have identified a plant that could grow on Mars. And it says, unfortunately, it's not tasty and does not make a great addition to the salad. But scientists in China claim to have discovered a kind of desert moss that thrives in a variety of conditions, from Antarctica to the Mojave Desert, in which they say could survive on the surface of Mars without being sheltered in the greenhouse. And the interesting thing is the temperatures on Mars are a minus 80 degrees Fahrenheit, freezing cold. And the atmosphere is not only 100 times less dense than Earth's, but also it's made of 95% carbon dioxide and less than 1% oxygen. We, us feeble humans, would just not live there. We would not be able to live there unless we were inside some sort of dome. So inhabiting Mars seems unreasonable to me, but you go, Elon, get it done. Now we got some food to grow there. Speaking of food, what the fork? Lab-grown rice packs protein punch from chicken and pork. So what they've done is they've taken some genetic material out of pork and chicken, and they've built it right into the rice. And the rice has a higher protein content. And the idea here is that you can, because a lot of people in the world rely on rice as their sole source of calorie intake. And if you can do that with a nutrient rich embedded with meat, then you can actually eliminate the need for meat, and people can just live on rice, which is, maybe not the tastiest thing, but it really grows well and uses a lot less water than meat itself. Regular meat production is a big strain on our planet. It uses a lot of land, water, energy, and emits greenhouse gases. This lab-grown rice dish could be a more sustainable way to get the nutrition we need amidst rising issues. I love it, love it, love it. Okay, over to something surreal and weird. In Japan, actually in New York as well, but in Japan, they've developed these robot animals to keep older people busy and to keep them engaged. And it says robot cats and dogs and birds are being deployed amid an epidemic of loneliness. New York State has sent out thousands of robots in a bid to keep older adults engaged. In the 1990s, researchers at Japan's National Institute of Advanced Industrial Science and Technology began work on what became Pero. More than 30 years after its development, the doe-eyed seal pup remains the best known example of a therapeutic robot for older adults. In 2011, the robot reached the zenith of pop culture cachet through an unofficial cameo in The Simpsons. But they have these home care animals. Who is that?
Even if Bobby is a robot, he's made so that he can react to anybody, and he reacts to me. But when I saw Robbie, I did love him straight away.
Oh, how cool is that? All right, over to something that is maybe the opposite of that. Scientists are creating a robot that is controlled by a blob of human brain cells. Now, if you look at the photos here, they've created a petri dish full of human brain cells and then stuck it in a robot. This is not real. I had to read this twice, but it says they've stuck a human organoid made from human cells into a body of a tiny robot, resulting in a Frankensteinian creation that can learn how to complete certain tasks. However, it says the goal is to study brain-computer interfaces that can act as a mediator between electrical signals in the brain and compute power. But it does say that it is a mock-up. It is not real, which thank God, because What we don't want to have is this scenario
Attorney
here.
General Marcos today approved the ED-209 combat unit for deployment in 5 American cities, despite widespread complaints of malfunction.
You are under arrest. Stop or I'll shoot. Stop.
You don't want this happening. Okay, you gotta put it on. I'll leave you with that one. This has been Daily Tech News with Alan Smithson. I hope you have a wonderful day, and let's pray that the brains inside the robots are not human. Or maybe we want them to be human. I'm not sure. But anyway, have a great day, everybody. Peace. We'll see you tomorrow.